I was pregnant in February, and the beginning stages of my pregnancy were really easy, supernaturally easy. I didn't have any morning sickness. I wasn't excessively exhausted or anything of the sort. So it was a very smooth pregnancy. Something within me told me that I should really be seen at the Montreal Children's Hospital, and I felt very comfortable being there because I have been there in the past to do an internship. And so I faithfully went there, and I got assigned with an OBGYN who was very renowned, and little did I know that I would actually very much need that in the upcoming weeks in my pregnancy. On my first ultrasound at 13 weeks, the baby was perfect. From 13 weeks to 20 weeks, there was something going on that we didn't know and that no one would really know, but our baby wasn't growing properly. So with that news, they had sent me to get multiple blood tests done as prevention. And I noticed on the ultrasound report that they had written something down called possibility of severe IUGR, which is intrauterine growth restriction. So when I saw that on my ultrasound report, I kind of brushed it off because we were getting ready to do a gender reveal party and I had to go see my OBGYN. So when I went to go see her with this report, she was a bit disturbed. She also told me that we would start aspirin, a type of blood thinner that would promote growth in the baby, to see that in the next 2 weeks there would be a big difference. And that's what she was believing for, and that's what we were believing for. When I left the office that day, they told me that they would contact me to have an appointment with genetics. We had our gender reveal party. We found out it was a girl, and 2 weeks later, I went back for that appointment. I was then 22 weeks pregnant, and I went to get my ultrasound, and it was a very hard day. I went in, and we were expecting to hear that everything that we were doing in the last 2 weeks was working. I was eating a lot more, and I was taking the aspirin, and my OBGYN was convinced that we would go in that day and everything was gonna be okay. Instead, I went in and the ultrasound technician started to do the ultrasound, and she was very quiet, and she ended up leaving the room to go get a doctor. And so the first doctor came in, and he was very confused, and he looked at me and he told me, "Have you been losing fluid?" And I said, "No, I didn't lose fluid," and I was confused why he was asking me that. And he then started to talk to the technician as if I wasn't in the room. And he said, "I don't understand. There's no fluid." And the baby still hadn't moved position from the last time, 2 weeks prior. The technician then was waiting for a second doctor to come in. And so I was lying down waiting for another doctor to come in, not sure what was the matter. And a young, tall, slim, blonde woman came in the room, and she was eating, and she seemed to be in a pretty just upset mood. And she came in saying, "Oh, excuse me, I was eating. This is the first bite that I had all day." And she came to sit down and she said, "Why do you think you're here today?" And I didn't know what to say. I was just like, "Well, we're coming to check that everything's fine with the baby." And they told me she looked a bit small, and we're taking aspirin and doing what we need to do. And she told me, that she was very concerned for our baby, because even with the work that we had been doing, she didn't grow at all in the last 2 weeks very much. And at this point, we were 22 weeks pregnant, and we were still under 400 grams, which you need to be at least 600 grams to have viability outside of the womb. And so she told me that day, you didn't do genetic testing, and I told her, well, I don't think it's a genetic issue. I mean, I don't know why this is happening, but I have an appointment with genetics. And I told her the dates, and she told me flat out, I don't think you'll make it to that date. And I was in shock, because she was trying to tell me that the reality of the situation was we weren't going to make it much longer. And she was trying to encourage me, that I was a young girl and that I would get pregnant again, and that I didn't have to do all these things to continue with the pregnancy. And so I made it clear to her that I had no intent of terminating our pregnancy. And so she told me, kind of with an attitude, not understanding the value of life, really. She told me, you can come every week for an ultrasound. We can monitor the baby, but I want you to know that you might come 1 week and there's no life. You can come and there'll be no heartbeat, no movement. And that's what she really believed. I went home and I prayed and I asked the Lord, I said, what's happening? Like, my pregnancy has been so wonderful, so easy, and I don't understand what's happening. And I asked the Lord why. I said, why is this happening? And the Lord told me, because you can handle it. And I held on to that. My OBGYN called me the next day and she told me to come in right away. So I went to her office right away, and she told me that I would need to start a second blood thinner. She went over the blood tests and she suspected that my placenta wasn't passing the nutrients well to the baby. We got to the point of getting to about 500 grams. She was still about half of the size that she was meant to be. I was about to enter my 3rd trimester. They were talking about hospitalizing me to be able to monitor the baby closer more often, because in their eyes, the team there, they were waiting for fetal demise. They then sent me to another doctor. She began to cry while talking to me, because it was very difficult for her to tell me the reality of my situation, which was very unlikely that my baby would make it. So she told me, she offered to get me in touch with palliative care, because they really believed that if she would have somehow made it to viability, then delivery would be very difficult and survival outside of the womb would be even more difficult. And she basically told me to start getting in touch with palliative care to plan what we would want to do when demise happens. How would we want to honor the life? How would we want to spend the last moments with her? I was 28 weeks pregnant. I went to my weekly ultrasound, and they told me, okay, now you're ready for hospitalization until you give birth. They were monitoring me and the baby 3 times a day, and every time the heartbeat was so strong, and the movement and the amniotic fluid began to increase, and she was moving, and I would feel her. I took that time in the hospital really to spend with the Lord, and I really felt uh, courage, and I really felt peace within me as I would um, seek Him in the hospital. I knew that everything was going to be okay. And the thing that encouraged me really a lot was that I knew that there was nothing the doctors could do to help us. I knew it really had to be the Lord. I knew that there was so many people praying for us and encouraging us and praying for our daughter and believing in the Lord that she would be good and healthy and okay. And I want to say thank you. Getting to my labor, at 33 weeks, I went to my ultrasound that day and they told me tomorrow you're giving birth. And I was in shock a little bit, but I was like, okay, the time is now. And so the next day, I gave birth, and she was born at 700 grams, and she was strong. And even during delivery, I heard the doctor say, look at her, she's breathing on her own. And so our daughter came out at 1.2 pounds. To come full circle, the doctor that ended up delivering our baby was the actual doctor, young woman, who told me back at 22 weeks, she had told me that she didn't think we were gonna make it to the end of that month. She was the one that actually delivered our baby and held our baby right in her hands, alive and well. And I know that was also the Lord trying to show her that life is in His hands and that doctors don't have the final say in these matters. I went to see my OG-BYN 6 weeks after, and she told me that she was really discouraged by the other doctors. They kept telling her that she was wasting her time helping us with this pregnancy, and that even just giving me those injections at 22 weeks, it wasn't worth anything because it was too late. And she told me that those doctors really needed a lesson in learning to not give up hope, and that she has no regrets in helping us, and she's so happy that our baby is doing well. And so now we're out of the NICU, we're home after 2 months about, and she's doing so well. And we know that all of this journey has really been orchestrated by the Lord to encourage people that even in the most impossible situations, the most unexpected ones, that the Lord is with you and He brings you to places that you don't necessarily think that you'd ever be in, but it's to strengthen you, and it's really because you can handle it. And so all praise and all honor and all glory goes to the Lord for her wonderful life. And we thank you all, everyone throughout this journey that texted us and came to visit us and encouraged us throughout this whole time. All praise to the Lord.